Good afternoon to everyone. I'm delighted to be joined by the Senate Pro Tem, Senator Hendren, as well as the Speaker of the House, Matthew Shepard, who've been incredible partners this legislative session. We also have Representative Lanny Fight that's here, Senator Dismang, who's Chairman of the Revenue Tax Committee on the Senate side, Representative Joe Jett, Chairman of the House Revenue and Tax, sort of critical player, and Representative Dan Douglas as well. Delighted to have Mike Preston, my Director of Economic Development, who understands the importance of competitive tax rates for our bringing industry into Arkansas and retaining industry into our state. And then, of course, our Director of the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today as well and for your leadership on this issue. And we have a number of other groups, but I'll stop right there. And I wanted to mention three bills today that we're going to be signing. The first bill is Senate Bill 576, sponsored by Senator Hester. Where you were hiding over here, Senator Hester. And we have Representative Jim Dodson here as well. But 576 has a number of different aspects to it. It's really an omnibus bill that gives us competitive tax rates in Arkansas, which includes what many of the municipalities and small businesses wanted in our state, the procedure to collect sales and use taxes on remote sellers. And this is not impacting the smallest of businesses. It's those that have $100,000 in sales in Arkansas or 200 transactions. This was a key piece of legislation that was one of the priorities for this session. It had a great vote. And then you have the additional part of Senate Bill 576, a new apportionment manner for businesses whenever they're apportioning their revenue with other states. It goes to a single sales tax factor that puts us in a better competitive situation with other states. It extends the net operating loss carry forward that will phase in to a 10-year period, which is a good business incentive for our companies. It reduces the corporate income tax rates, and I applaud our legislators because they wanted to put this as a priority. Mine has been concentrating on individual income tax rate reductions, but they wanted to make sure we're competitive in our corporate income tax rate, and that will be reducing in FY21 $9.8 million tax cut, FY22 $29.5 million. And then there's other changes in there, including a change in reconfiguring of how we compute the tax for car washes and other items. It is truly a comprehensive, competitive tax bill that will put us in better position with our surrounding states and support our industry and our businesses to a greater extent. We also have Senate Bill 561, sponsored by Senator Hendren and Representative Dodson. This was recommended by the task force. It is truly a reform bill that reforms the way we collect our franchise taxes, and it also provides more authority to the Assessment Coordination Division in providing guidelines for assessing business inventory in all of the counties to give us a better statewide standard for tax collections and assessments. And then we have Senate Bill 447, which is exciting to me because Senator Hendren and Representative Lanny Fight really shepherded the direction here, and Joe Jett, Representative Joe Jett as well. But it meets one of my priorities for this session of raising the homestead property tax amount deduction from $350 to $375. This is a $12.5 million tax cut for Arkansans. It helps the homeowners, those that have lived in the same home for years, and this will help us to show our homeowners that we still want to make it easier for them, particularly as they get older in life. But it also helps our counties by providing $8.2 million in county voting system funds that will help our counties to modernize their voting systems. This is a high priority of Senator Hendren as well as others. And then it also whenever all that is said and done, the excess will be distributed to the long-term reserve fund. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not just about tax reform, but this is also about setting aside a savings account for the state of Arkansas in the long-term reserve fund that already has over $120 million that will have additional funds distributed to it over the course of the next 5 years and on beyond that. But this will allow us to be in a position to ask for our bond rates to be at a higher premium so that our interest rates go down. It helps us to set aside funds for any economic downturn in the future and helps us to protect our budget and our programs in Arkansas from education to public safety. I want to congratulate everyone for one of the most historic sessions when it comes to tax reform, and the foundation was set by the lengthy and substantive work that the legislative task force did on tax reform that set the stage for this session. And once that stage was set, we've lowered the income tax rate, we've had comprehensive corporate tax reform, as well as property tax relief reform as well. I'm very pleased to sign these bills today, which I'll do shortly, but I want to give the Senate Pro Tem and the Speaker of the House an opportunity to make any comments.
Well, thanks, Governor. Personally, this is a big day because this is the culmination of almost 2 years of work by almost everybody that you see, in fact, by everybody that you see standing up here. As the Governor said, we began working on tax reform almost 2 years ago with a goal of making it simpler, fairer, and making Arkansas more competitive. And the 3 bills that you see here accomplish all of those goals. One of them is really the reform bill takes about 7 of the recommendations of the Tax Reform Task Force and makes our tax code fairer, makes sure that there's a review process so that it continues to stay updated and modern. The corporate tax, again, recommendations. Most of us had never heard of single sales factor before we started the Tax Reform Task Force. But as we began to look at the impact and how Arkansas businesses are at such a big disadvantage to our neighbors, it became clear that that was a reform effort that we needed to make, as well as dropping our corporate tax rate, changing our net operating loss. Many of these things that made Mike Preston's job more challenging are going to be much easier now because of the legislation that we're getting ready to sign. And the legislation simply would not have come forth without a lot of effort by legislators in the interim figuring out how to make our tax code more effective. And again, I also want to say how much I appreciate the work of the members of the House finding common ground. Most of these bills were changed throughout the legislative process, as they should be, and they got better because of help from Representative Jett, Representative Fight, the Speaker, the members of the House who worked hard to try to make sure that everybody's interests were represented. So I'm excited about the tax package that we have here today. It's the result of a lot of work. The sponsors, Senator Hester, did a great job with an incredibly tough issue that got more attention than it should have. And so I appreciate him keeping his back to the wheel and pushing that across the finish line because it was important for the state of Arkansas.
Well, I'd just like to echo the governor's comments and Senator Hendren's comments. Another big day for the people of Arkansas, and very pleased with how these bills came about. It was a pretty heavy lift. There was a lot of hard work that went into it, and on the House end in particular, I'd like to thank Representative Douglas, Representative Jett, Representative Fight, and Representative Dodson in particular. But it certainly doesn't stop with just those 4 representatives. There were numerous other representatives that were part of that discussion, and obviously as we moved it forward, we needed to make the case to each and every representative. And I'm very pleased with how these things came together, and it culminates in these bills being signed today. Again, just another step forward for Arkansas.
With that, we'll sign the bills and we'll come back here and we'll take any questions you might have. And Randy, you can come, and Mike, and the legislators, Speaker, Pro Tem. All right, the first bill is Senate Bill 576. By weight is the biggest bill. This, like Senator Hester, bill is Senate Bill 561. Senator Hendren and Representative Dotson. This is the corporate franchise tax bill. I'm signing this also. Senate Bill 447, this is property tax relief fund. Senator Hendren, Representative Hyde, Representative Jett. And I'm very pleased to sign this one. And I think in the words of the speaker, this represents a very good day for the people of Arkansas. Great job. All right, here's Senator this way.
Senator Hester, right?
Got blood on it. Yeah. All right. There you go. Oh, well, they let me do the questions. I about forgot about that. Are there any questions?
Governor, just in a nutshell, can you just give me some key points on how this is going to benefit everyday Arkansans?
Well, first of all, everyone who owns their home can claim a tax relief for their homestead. And it's been historically $350. That's raised to $375. That helps every Arkansan on their homestead. Secondly, whenever you look at the importance of jobs, and I need to emphasize that in the last quarter of last year, Arkansas ranked number 5 in the nation in terms of personal income growth. This happened because we became competitive in bringing jobs here and good paying jobs here. And so this corporate tax bill helps us to recruit industry. There's been a number of instances that Mike can tell you where the accountants get a hold of a competitive industry that wants to look at Arkansas but is looking at other states. They look, do you have the single sales tax factor for the apportionment of their revenue? Well, we didn't have it before, now we have it. It's an equalizer for us to be able to recruit that business and create those jobs. And so in a number of different areas, it helps the everyday Arkansan in terms of jobs, in terms of income, in terms of strict tax relief, and in terms of efficiency as well.
With the session wrapping up, you've got most of the priorities you expressed at the beginning. Any regrets, anything you haven't gotten?
That will take a little bit longer to reflect upon. I hope when the session is over with, we'll be able to look at that more closely. Without any doubt, I have, the General Assembly has given me all of my priorities. We've worked hard on it, plus more. And also, I think you have to measure the success of a session as to some of the things you didn't do. And I think that will be a point of reflection as well. But I'll save some of that for a little bit later discussion. There's still a few items to get done, but I've been very, very pleased with what I consider a historic session.
So the other side of the equation, what's the collective impact on the state's revenue stream for essential services as a result of these bills?
I'm thinking that through as I answer. And of course, the Central Services Fund is funded from a percent of the revenues that come into the state, and it's a fund that's set aside for the work of the courts, for
Essential services.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said central. So what does this mean for,
Services.
so what does all this mean for that? That means that because of a growing economy, we can lower tax rates, which lowers the growth of revenue in our state. But because of a growing economy, we do not sacrifice essential services. Whenever you look at the fact that this year we put $10 million into UAMS for a new National Cancer Institute designation, when you look at the fact that we beefed up the salaries for our state police, our teachers this year, not only did we meet essential services, we actually did more. And as has been pointed out, even though we've had lower tax rates, our revenues have continued to grow because of a booming economy in this state. That's allowed us to meet those essential needs and more for the state.
So what does this mean 2 years from now? We have another big round of tax cutting?
Oh, I think that's too soon to say. You know, and a number like the reduction of the corporate tax rate is phased in. You look at the net operating loss carryover, that is in a future year. And so just like this year, we're absorbing $110 million of tax cuts this year that were enacted in a previous session. And so we're setting the stage for the future here. Now, so whether you do any more all depends upon our transformation efforts and the efficiencies we create in government, along with how our economy does and how much it grows and whether we can absorb any more tax cuts in the future. We're getting very close to where we need to be, but I still would like to get our individual income tax rate down. I'd like to see it down to 5%. We're getting down to 5.9%, but it's certainly too early to talk about future tax cuts right now. All right. Yes.
If a sanctuary cities bill were to reach your desk without an amendment prohibiting law enforcement from asking about immigration status without probable cause, would you sign it?
I would like to have the probable cause in there. That's why I've made that request of Senator Stubblefield. We'll see what happens if they reconsider it today. It was defeated in committee last night. It may be dead for the session. They may be bring it up, and so let's just wait and see.
Have you signed the Johnny Cash Daisy Bates bill?
Oh, I have with great joy. Well, no, I say that. Actually, we're having that signing ceremony. I think I signed it officially, but we'll have a signing ceremony on that, which I'm looking forward to because we'll have representatives of the Cash family there as well as representative of Daisy Bates' family. Thank you.